again to the Weekly Spot here on the network. I'm Alan Watts. Anyone that knows about the stand-up comedy world in Chicago should know my guest today. He's Bill Cruz, the gay Mexican comedian himself.
I'm wearing my comedy jacket tonight. It is authentic from the 70s. It was a chair, apparently, before this lovely evening.
I asked what brought him to Chicago.
First I went to LA, then I went to New York, and then Atlanta, and I didn't like any of those places. And then on a fluke, I came to Chicago with a friend of mine, and I fell in love with the city immediately, and that's where I wanted to go.
Bill grew up in Denver, Colorado, where he got his degree in theater. In 1999, he moved to Chicago. 2.5 years later, he broke out into the stand-up comedy scene. I asked him how he got started.
I actually got started in stand-up comedy by accident. I had moved to Chicago to do theater, and then I just hit a wall. I'd been doing theater for so long that I just had to take a little break. And a friend of mine who theater also, but also was doing stand-up comedy, so I would go watch him do stand-up comedy. I got the performance bug still, so I ended up doing spoken words at a few different like coffee shops. But people were like, "Oh, you're really funny. You should do stand-up." And I was like, "Well," a gentleman approached me one day at one of the spoken word functions, and they said they were looking for a comedian for the Bear Conference, which took place at the same time as the International Male Leather Conference. And they said, "Yeah, we'll pay you." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I know, I do stand-up." And then I called my friend immediately. I was like, I don't know what to do. I have a month to get ready." And so yeah, I did the show. Got paid, and then I figured that was it. And then pretty soon I started getting gigs, and now 7-8 years later I'm still doing stand-up comedy.
A lot of Bill Cruz' comedy is based on his sexuality. He's an openly gay comedian, and I wondered if that's ever caused him any problems.
I've always been out as a gay comedian, which is kind of strange because most of the comedy, when I started, there was only one other gay comedian doing stand-up. It's all straight white guys mostly. But the other comedians really didn't seem to care. So I've really been happy with the way that I've been accepted here in the Chicago comedy scene. I've also found the crowds fairly accepting of my gay humor. I think I've been really lucky.
I'm all for gay marriage. I will sign it. I want it into law. I think everybody should be able to get gay married, except for me. I don't want to get gay married, ever. But when I signed up to be gay, that was one of the reasons I checked the box, because right under it said, "Don't have to get married." And I'm like, oh yeah, that's for me.
Of course, with years of experience, people might start coming to you with questions, so I wondered if anyone's ever asked Bill Cruz to produce any comedy shows for them.
I've produced a couple shows. I do an open mic here at the 710 Lounge every Tuesday. We start back up in February, the Guttermouth open mic, and I produced a couple showcases. And that is a tough job. That is not a job. I never would have thought of getting into producing. Bill
Cruz has done a lot of shows over the years. Some good, and some not so good. I asked him what some of his favorite moments were.
I did a show at Joe's on Wheat Street, and that was awesome. That was great. To feel the energy from like 250, 300 people laughing at you is amazing. Probably tied with that, I did a couple shows at Zany's that my dad went to. We did 3 shows that night. He stayed for all 3 shows, and to hear him laugh was pretty awesome. It was a pretty good feeling.
Father approval is always a good thing for sure. Bill also speaks very highly of a lot of other comics. Here's some of his favorites.
I'd have to say some of my favorites are Jeff Hansen. He was a suburb comic that recently moved to Chicago, and he does really crazy stuff on stage. He really doesn't have any fear. And he lets it show. There's a great comic by the name of Derek Smith from Oklahoma. Man, he's really funny. And Dan Telford. Dan Telford runs Chicago Underground Comedy at the Beat Kitchen, and he is very funny, very unique voice. Cameron Esposito, she has a show right now called Side Mullet Nation at Comedy Bar. She's hysterical. She's really funny.
If you want to screw somebody over at McDonald's, ask them what they recommend. One guy told me Wendy's.
Bill certainly loves his stand-up comedy, but I wondered if there's anything he doesn't like about it.
There's a lot about stand-up comedy I don't like. I love doing it, but sometimes I just take so much effort to watch it. I'm old school. I like Jack Benny and Jackie Gleason.
If you haven't seen a stand-up comedy show in Chicago, you definitely should check it out. Bill told me there's a lot of different resources out there to help us locate shows all over Chicago.
You can find information about stand-up comedy in Chicago all over the place. There's a great comedy blog called comedyofchicago.com, which lists all the big showcase rooms and open mics in the area, and also articles about stand-up comedy here in Chicago. I always highly recommend the Lincoln Lodge, or pick up your reader. There's a lot of great comedy listings there, and check out Zany's also. Be my fan on Facebook at Facebook.com/gay-Mexican-comedian. I have a lot of cool stuff on there about my shows, if you're interested.
And how is the stand-up scene in Chicago?
There used to be the one comedy club, which was Zany's, which is awesome. But now the Laugh Factory is about to open, and Second City just opened a new stand-up venue called Up, and so it's a really exciting time for Chicago comedy, stand-up specifically. And I always try to tell as many people as possible, go see stand-up. There's so much good stand-up in the city. It's not just improv.
I notice Bill always clarifies himself after saying comedy. He immediately corrects it with stand-up comedy.
Yeah, if you say comedy in Chicago, people automatically assume you mean improv because of Second City and Improv Olympic and all the improv here, but there's actually a very fabulous stand-up scene here in Chicago.
Bill also loves the CTA.
I think it's one of those things that really makes Chicago unique, the fact that it's got a great public transportation system that's run horribly and that the public doesn't really appreciate.
And anyone that knows about the CTA knows there's never a dull moment while riding it.
Heading home from work with a buddy of mine, the train was packed. It was a White Sox game, and there was a woman on the train standing, and as we're staring at her, she literally pissed her pants. And it took her about 3 minutes to realize what had happened, and she ran off the train crying. And that was awesome. I feel sorry for her 100%, but it was probably one of the best things I'd ever seen on a train.
Besides his love of Chicago, stand-up comedy, and the CTA, Bill also loves playing Dungeons and Dragons. I wonder what some of his other favorite things are.
My favorite TV show is Shameless. Not the Showtime series, but the original BBC version. Every episode, somebody headbutts somebody, and it's brutal show, but hysterically funny. I would probably say Rocco's Modern Life. The dog, Mr. Big Head. I don't know what it is, but man, that show cracks me up. Is Phineas and Ferb a Nicktoon? Or is that a Disney tune? Whatever it is, I did not like it. I mean, noodle is probably my favorite food on the planet, and that's cow stomach soup. Like that, and chicken wings. I'm a sucker for a good chicken wing. I love chicken wings. It used to be the Gentry until they closed it down. I'm a sucker for a good old-fashioned piano bar, gay piano bar. Spin's always fun. It's like, I remember Spin being one of the first gay bars I went to. But more recently, I love going to the Closet. I find it a great hole-in-the-wall kind of a bar, and there's some good times to be had there, definitely.
I love going out, though. I love going out to Boys Town. Who's been to Boys Town, huh? Yeah. God, I love Boys Town. I love it. Every time I go to Boys Town, it always reminds me of the first gay bar I ever went to. Do you guys remember that? Yeah, I remember the first gay bar I ever went to. It was exciting. I was nervous. You knew it was an awesome bar when you walked in because there was crazy shit all over the walls. Great music playing. Everybody's drinking these giant pink drinks, like big slabs of pineapple on them. And it had one of those ridiculously cute gay bar names. Applebee's? It's right across the street from the big lesbian bar, Red Lobster. Do you guys know that place? It smelled like a lesbian bar. I didn't go in.
So go see a Bill Cruz show. You won't be disappointed.
I thought I'd close tonight by telling literally the oldest joke I know. I moved to Chicago in 1999, and the one thing I was most impressed with here in Chicago is the public transportation system. Yeah! Thank you. Yes, it is awesome. I'm from Denver. We have nothing. We have the bus, actually. It takes you nowhere. But I was afraid of the transportation system here, coming from the little town of Denver. The good thing about the bus in Denver is, if you get on the bus and you go to the back of the bus, the back doors open automatically. So when I got to Chicago, I was like, I know the bus, I'll take the bus. Took the bus, just a couple stops. Here's my stop. Bing! Walk to the back of the bus stops, and I just stand there. But then I was nice enough to be like, oh, driver, back door, please. And everybody on the bus was so happy to help me out by going, push it! Push the fucking door open!
Some old lady swinging an Aldi's bag at me. This guy's ramming his cart/house into my back of my legs. I was like, screw that. I'm not taking the bus anymore. You gotta be crazy. That's when I met the L, which translated into English means the. I don't know if you knew that.
That's it for us at the Weekly Spot. Join us again next time, right here on the network. We leave you this time with a little more of Bill Cruz' stand-up comedy. For all of us here at the Weekly Spot, I'm Alan Watts. Thanks for watching.
And I love the L. It's great. People complain about it all the time. It's like, you kidding me? It's like riding a roller coaster with bumps. Like, it's awesome. And I'll never forget the first time I walked onto an L train. I got on at Chicago, Red Line. And I just took it one stop because I was amazed at this magic silver tube that takes you anywhere you want to go. And then I hear over the loudspeaker, "This is grand." I'm like, you guys are short selling it. This thing is fucking amazing. And that got me thinking they should rename all the L stops like that, like grand. Like Belmont, they should just call that fabulous. This is fabulous. Doors open on the left. It's fabulous. Take it one more stop to Addison. This is bi-curious. Doors open both ways at bi-curious. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming out tonight. Please give it up one more time for me, I guess. That's the biggest thing. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.